Good evening. This is your night before news video for Maths Paper 2 higher tier. Just going to go through then, like we did in the first video, a few topics that we suggest that you should be revising and prioritising, and then how you could go about doing that. Obviously we now have had paper 1. That can provide us with some small insights into what might be left for paper 2 and paper 3. However, that does come with a big, overarching be aware warning that stuff that has come up could well come up again, and obviously there are 2 papers left, so very common exam topics that haven't yet appeared might not be in paper 2 but they might be in paper 3, so some suggestions of where you can start revising is what this video is going to be giving you. So again, repeating that message, what's going to be in this exam? Well, we can think about what came up in paper 1. So these are all of the topics that came up in paper 1. Some of these you would expect perhaps not to see again, but again, the exam board make the exams. I'm not an examiner, I haven't seen the papers. They could put some of these topics back in. However, there are some topics that do lend themselves to being more non-calculator, which I would be very surprised to see again. So for example, something like dividing by a decimal, you have a calculator, so that would become a very easy question if that was to come up again. And things like fraction calculations, unless they involve some algebra, which is something that we are expecting to see, and things like evaluating indices, you could just type those into your calculator as well. So these are some of the things that have already come up, and again they could come up again, but I think it does make sense to focus revision on stuff that you haven't seen yet, unless there's something on there that you are well aware of, that you need to work on. So putting all that together then, what's going to be in this exam? So again, just going to remind you of that warning. We cannot say for certain that topics that have already appeared will not come up again, but it does make sense to revise topics that have not yet been seen. There is no guarantee that the following topics I'm about to list will appear in papers 2 and 3, but they do provide areas to focus on. So I've split this into strands. So you've got algebra. Algebra will be appearing in all 3 of your papers. And these are the things that we haven't yet seen. So expanding and simplifying triple brackets, solving quadratics where now you've got a calculator, it might be that you need to use the quadratic formula to do so. Completing the square, we haven't seen that yet. Anything to do with algebraic fractions, so sequences, simultaneous equations. We had 1 question on simultaneous equations in paper 1, and it was graphical, so perhaps a graphical simultaneous equation, maybe one with a quadratic or a circular equation in there. Algebraic proof, you've got graphical transformations. There was no questions on plotting linear graphs or quadratic graphs or cubic graphs or reciprocal graphs or interpreting any graphs at all. And equations of circles, equations of tangents, so just some ideas of algebra topics that you could or might want to bring into your revision tonight to prioritise. Statistics and probability, again we didn't really have any of that in paper 1, or not much of it at all. So you've got your histograms, cumulative frequency, and now that we've done frequency polygons, that was in paper 1, I would be very surprised to see it again, although like we keep saying, they are allowed to put it back in. I'd be surprised if they did. Cumulative frequency, then you just need to remember when you're plotting that, that's your upper class boundary. Averages, so medians, interquartile ranges, so that might be on a box plot, could be from the cumulative frequency. You've got reverse mean, averages from frequency tables as well. Geometry, there was, I would say, quite a few geometry questions in paper 1, but there's still a lot of things we haven't seen. So we've had no transformations yet. If that is to come up in your exam, remember that you will be given tracing paper. If for whatever reason you don't have any, put your hand up and they will bring you some. Compound measures, so there was a pressure question in paper 1, but I would be surprised if we finished this exam series and there was nothing on speed or density. Pythagoras, you got further trig. Remember you will be getting the formulas for those on your formula sheets. Vectors, so column vectors perhaps, or geometric vectors. Anything to do with circles, area, circumference, arc length, area of a sector. There's nothing on bearings, was there? Possibly something on constructions, metric conversions, angles and parallel lines. So again, a not exhaustive list of topics. If you're trying to think about what to revise, these are the places we suggest you begin. And then number, ratio and proportion. So you've got products of prime factors, highest common factor, lowest common multiple, error intervals, bounds, haven't had any of that yet. Standard form, if any standard form does come up from now onwards, please use your calculators if it's a calculation, because that's going to help you get that correct. You can see I've written down there all ratio questions. There was only one in paper 1, and it's likely to come up again. So any type of ratio question. So what can you do about it then? There's a huge amount of topics that I've just listed of things that haven't yet appeared in the paper, as well as keeping in mind that, you know, there might be something that has come up that could come up again, and you know you want to look at that anyway. Well, how can we do it? There's two main ways. You could split it into just topic-based revision, or you could focus on trying to complete whole practice papers. And so if you want to look at specific topics, you've got Hegarty Maths, you know everything you need to know about Hegarty Maths, log on, type in the topic, you've got a video, you've got a quiz. Exam queue, so this time on your exam queue, please do check the tier still. I do think it defaults to higher when you go on the website, but now when you're looking, make sure you're looking at paper 2 and paper 3, because just because a topic before was in paper 3 doesn't mean that it can't be in paper 2, it just means that it was on a calculator paper, and then you can type in your topics. Remember then when you've got a topic there, so I just went on and I typed in sine rule or cosine rule, and this question's come up. You could attempt that question, and then you've got the mark scheme, which will show you how to apply the marks to your own working out. You've got Maths Genie. If you go on Maths Genie, you could click on GCSE revision on the top sort of menu bar, or a bit further down on the welcome page. There's a link you can click on there as well. And similarly for Core Bit Maths, make sure you go onto the videos and worksheets page. You can scroll down, it's all alphabetised and split up into topics. You can find some questions, you've got the questions, and then you've got answers. If you want to do full papers, there's going to be a bunch of stuff on Arbor. So the Maths Teacher Hub predicted paper, June 2019, other predicted papers. You've got Maths Genie again, they have full past papers. So back onto the main homepage, click on GCSE papers at the top and make sure you're looking at Edexcel exam papers. And then what can you do tomorrow morning? Well, I think the most important thing is to make sure that you are utilising all of the revision resources that you will be given in the morning. So the hub will be open from 7 AM. It was really busy and really productive for paper 1. I think it worked quite well. We had all the maths teachers down there. Everybody was doing some maths and getting some instant feedback. People had brought in questions that they'd found in their revision from the evening before and were asking for help on those things. That's exactly what you should be doing. So bring in some questions that you haven't yet been able to answer, or you sort of looked at the mark scheme, you think you understand it, but you want to know a similar question, or you just want to check that yours is correct because you haven't quite understood the mark scheme. You will have your line up at 8:25 as usual, and then we're back into the conservatory or the canteen for the final bits of revision. So we're going to use the same sort of setup of revision as we did before, and you've got these breakfast warm-up revision grids. Now these have been made. This one on the screen right now is not the one that you will see tomorrow morning. We made these based off of paper 1, and we sort of took out some of the stuff that had already come up and we've put in new stuff, and this is the final last bit of revision that you'll get right before you walk in those doors. Okay, so lots of questions, something on each topic. Have a go at those questions, work hard, there'll be answers provided. Again, all of the maths teachers will be there for you to ask for any help if you need it. Okay, so finally from me then, good luck. Maybe you want to go back to the beginning of the video, just pause on some of those topic lists, pick out the ones that you know you need to work on and prioritise this evening, and make sure that you're collecting any questions that you think you need some more support on to be asking about tomorrow morning. Okay, good luck.